Hey, what's up, YouTubers? Back for another update for the upcoming 2025 racing series, and we have one machine ready to go. We're working on the other one to try to get it ready. We have 2 weeks to go before the first race that I will be entering in, which will be the Extreme race on March 1st. And I haven't decided, it's weather dependent, whether I take the Scrambler or do I do the 450s. So we'll see how muddy it is at the beginning of March, and then we'll go from there. But kind of alluded in a short video, the power steering pump on the Scrambler decided after sitting for a couple months after winning the Ironman that it wasn't gonna produce any more power. And it was really hard to turn, and so I had to replace the power steering pump. So that's where I'm at with this thing, and I decided I didn't go with the OEM pump on here. I found a aftermarket brand new niche pump. I think that's how you pronounce it, and it's a little bit bigger than the OEM, and it's a pretty beefy power steering pump. There wasn't a lot of room here to get that thing in there. You can see how tight that is going to be. And underneath here, I actually had to notch out part of the mounting bracket because this bolt right here comes down, and on the original OEM one there's no indentation here, so I ended up cutting out a little bit of the support mount there, but this thing is in there really good. It's not moving. So brand new power steering pump, so getting that dropped in here. So I'm gonna finish putting on the steering stem today, and yeah, to get that thing out of there, it is really tight, so you can't just pull it out through this section. You have to pull it out from behind here, and that requires you to remove the fuel tank, remove the air intake, and so once you remove all that, then you can get the power steering pump out. So it's a lengthy process because this area is so tight and hard to work into, but finally got that dropped in there the other day. Just wanted to show some progress of where we were at. So my goal today is to get the steering stem put back on and put the battery back in and make sure this thing has power and is working the way it's supposed to. Then I'll drop back in the fuel tank and the air intake, and we should be good to go. This one's ready to go. Other than putting some air in the tires, this one's ready to line up and race. And we got a few little upgrades I showed in the last video for this, but we're good to go on this. One other maintenance thing I'll have to do with this is replace the belt. I didn't replace the belt at all last season, and I always try to put on a fresh belt for the entire season. So my goal here is, once we get the power steering pump in, is then to start working on getting a new belt put in. All right, this machine, the 800S. So I started breaking this down while I was waiting for the power steering pump to get delivered. So I started taking off some of the plastic so I can get to the engine. I have all the new engine parts for this. I have the crankshaft, the pistons and everything, all brand new. So this will be, when we take this out, I'll be taking out the intake, and then I'm going to separate the engine from the transmission here, and then pull out the engine and then rebuild it. So I have all the parts for that sitting here in a box, so that I decided to rebuild this back to OEM. Whatever's in there, hopefully it's OEM and not a big bore kit, which I don't think it is, but we'll find out when we crack this thing open to see what's all going on in there. And then just probably do some regular maintenance to this. So I haven't really looked over any of the wheel bearings or the control arm bearings, or and I think all the axles should be good, but just kind of looking over some of the routine maintenance stuff that might have gotten missed from the previous owner. And that way, you know, I can have a nice strong machine that be able to go out and trail ride and have fun and rip around, you know, maybe at the Badlands or something, where I don't want to be bounced around maybe on a quad, but maybe just want to get behind a steering wheel with a friend and, you know, have fun, you know, maybe hit a couple mud holes, climb some sand dunes, you know, things like that. So, but all right. Anyway, I could sit here and talk a lot longer, but I'm not going to. First thing, I'm going to go ahead and get this steering stem installed back in here, mounted up, and then get the battery put in, and then we'll get some power going to it, and then make sure we're not having any engine codes. And I'll be right back. So let me get this put together, and then I'll come back on the video and see where we're at. All right, now we got the steering stem mounted. So putting these together, and one of the bolts decided to break. So luckily I have a cache of bolts that I was able to replace the mounting screw, and it slid right in there for the steering stem. So the next thing I'm going to do is to attach these electrical connections. And whenever you guys are doing that, make sure you're putting dielectric grease on these connectors here, because it helps keep water and stuff and keeps all your electronics working the way it should. So looking pretty good here. I do gonna have to order a new mount for this. I tried to use some JB Weld, it just didn't hold. So I'm gonna get a new arm here, mounting for this hand guard. So that won't be they're not that expensive, maybe like 20 bucks for the pair. So so we're gonna keep on trucking along. Next thing I'm gonna do is throw in the battery, get the key put in there, and then see if this thing powers up, and we get power steering back. So let's check it out. I'll let you know. All right, good news. The battery's installed. I got power. And I'm looking at the display here, and we don't have any. There's a little wheel there if the power steering's messed up, and there's nothing there. And look how, oh, it's like butter. This thing is moving good, moving back and forth. Looks like it's hitting all, looks like it turns left a lot tighter than it does right, but that's okay. I'm not gonna have to turn that hard. I usually just slide out the rear end when I need to. So all right, everything's looking good here. So I'm just gonna button this back up and start getting the fuel tank back in and the intake, and we should be good. So I'm happy everything's turning out the way it needs to be. So all right, I'll be back with a couple more updates here in just a minute. Okay, I was able to squeeze in that fuel tank. It's pretty tight in there. So I mean, you have to navigate all these wires coming up from the engine and make sure all the routing and nothing gets pinched off. So looks like I got all the wires free as I was putting it in. This ECU gets strapped up onto the air box when I get to that point, but looks like all these wires are freed up. There's nothing loose, so I just gotta connect in my fuel line here, and there was a vent line that has to be connected there, and then wiring for the fuel pump itself. And just so you guys can see this and how big this power steering pump is, it is tight. I mean, it is touching that gas tank. There is no room in there at all. And I'm hoping that doesn't cause any issues, but this thing's pretty solid, so it shouldn't rub or anything. But what I did have to do is, because of that there, I ended up putting a spacer here because I didn't want that to smash up against the power steering pump and put a bigger indentation in there. So found a longer screw, put in a spacer here that shouldn't affect anything else on the quad as far as alignment issues. So the plastic should still go on, no problem. Routing all these lines in there, and the power steering line here. Just got to get everything cleaned up there. So should be looking pretty good. So all right, next step is putting on the air box and then getting that all tightened up, and then putting the battery back in. I had to get the battery taken out because there's this vent line that goes up here into this T. So making progress, looking good. Gonna keep moving on. All right, guys, we're all finished up here. Got all the plastics back on the seat. Got the battery back on the charger. And we did have to make one little modification on the inside here. That there's a plastic cover that goes over the gas tank to protect it from like sticks and stuff or mud. So I had to cut and shape the plastic cover there to go around the new big power steering pump. So it is much bigger, and that's why we had to make a little bit modifications. I never really talked and said why I went with the aftermarket pump, but if you were to look up this pump online, brand new OEM pump is like $2,500. That's right, $2,500. And I picked up this new pump for $800. And I didn't want to go with used because then I'd get in the same situation I was before. And I didn't want to go OEM brand new because that's just too steep. $2,000 when a $800 aftermarket pump should do the job. And yeah, we got it in there. It was a little tight. Had to make slight modifications to get it in there because that's such a tight space. But overall, hopefully this pump lasts and takes the abuse like the OEM one did. So again, just want to say thanks for watching this channel. If you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. I'll have more content in the future. We're looking at doing some other repairs. So the next thing with this Scrambler is going to be probably change the oil, check over the air filter, and then replace the drive belt on the clutches. I have a brand new belt over here, and we'll get this thing ready to go. We're 2 weeks away from the first race, and I am very confident that both of these machines, not only will the Scrambler be ready, but also the TRX. This thing is ready to go. This will be ready to go. I'll have my pick. Which one? Which one do we race? 4x4, TRX. 4x4, TRX. Hey, hit in the comments. What do you want to see? This is going to be the first race. Put it on video. It's going to be pretty awesome. So, hey, just hang tight, and we'll see you in the next video. See you guys.